So, it's time again. Coming in, as always, as it never fails. It happens, I don't know, once a year. There's always this big discussion of controllers and whether certain types of controllers are cheating and or need to be banned. Like this happens every year, right? A few years ago, it happened with a brand new device called the Hitbox Cross-Up. What was that, like 2019, 2018? It could be even older than that, right? The Hitbox original, and once again, it's happening with the Hitbox. We have this video to look at, and a couple of replies. There's actually a lot of people very divided on this topic, right? You're either like a fighting game boomer man who hates non-arcade standard peripherals, or you're a zoomer who's totally for them, or just in the middle and you don't care, right? I'm closer to in the middle, don't care, but I also like the highest peaks of competition. So if this is what the highest peaks of competition become, because of controllers, because of the types of apparatus you can use to elevate your game, I'm all for it, right? I just want to see the best players duke it out with the best devices in the best meta, right? I just want to see them do the most wild shit to each other. That's what I'm here for, right? So if using a pad or using a stick isn't how you're going to get the best inputs, then I don't think you should competitively use them. Anyways, we can get into this video real quick. So here we are. Hitbox, a few days ago, August 29th, day before my birthday, had the wise idea to show off this video of Hitbox Dustin doing a 4-frame super. 4-frame super. So we're gonna watch it. Let me turn off the music real quick. Let me turn off this tune. This is a good tune, but we're gonna turn it off real quick so you guys can hear this. One, two, three, four. Wow. Just an emptier bag? Holy. That's not a good way to look at it. It's crazy, isn't it? Right? So most of the time, whenever you're using something like a controller, you kind of have to slide from down forward to down forward and then hit punch, right? And then on the lever, you need to do down forward, down forward, down forward, down forward really fast, right? Or quarter circle forward really fast, and then hit a button. So you guys can hear the buttons from here, right? But on this little doohickey with SOCD, that means simultaneous opposite cardinal direction cleaner, right? As an SOCD cleaner that registers inputs and chooses which one is more important for each situation. Forward and back at the same time always give you neutral, and down and up always gives you up, right? So there's an SOCD shortcut in this. It's Jason Bourne. Hey, what's up? How you doing? What's up, Joseph? See, walk back, SOCD down, forward, slide back to down, reach for forward and punch at the same time. You can even see it on the bottom with his hands. His hands give it all away. In slow-mo, watch this. Dude. Insane. 4 frames, right? And people are very divided on this topic. People think that for an apparatus to give you such a huge advantage, kind of reduce the execution barrier is a problem. Right? I've even seen a checkmarked Twitter user, a verified Twitter user, saying some very weird things. Watching people cheat with controllers, with these controllers, really makes me wonder why I went through the effort of supporting them in my arcade. Because this just honestly depresses me. This isn't innovation, it's just cheap and sad. And I have to think, right? Don't you think that an apparatus that does things easier for you is considered innovation? That's like saying going from making fires with sticks and stones to having a lighter and lighter fluid is cheating. It's cheap and sad. It's not the way that I went through the effort of learning how to make a fire, right? So because of that, it makes it bad. It makes it not innovative. It makes it sad and cheap. At least to a lot of older people who grew up with arcades, right? They grew up using pads all the time or using sticks all the time, right? And I think that really that's a super bad mentality, right? That's about the same mentality of, oh, Street Fighter is the best fighting game and there's no other good fighting game. If you're playing anything other than Street Fighter, you're playing a worse game objectively, right? Whenever people have these super crazy takes because they're so used to something being the most prominent or the most pronounced, it usually just kind of ends in disaster, right? While I don't think that Hitbox needs to be banned, I think that it needs to be taken by a game basis, right? And the big thing is these games need to either have the SOCD shortcuts allowed or not allowed, right? It has nothing to do with the device, it has everything to do with the game, right? Because a lot of these shortcuts, if this little doohickey right here, if it cleaned your inputs with SOCD, you'd be able to do the same thing because you have these inputs all separate and this. So technically, if you wanted, you could press forward and back at the same time on a DualShock 4 if you're holding it claw grip, right? If you're holding this claw grip, you could do that, right? And I think that's something that people don't think about, right? And we've never said, oh, we need to ban pad. Pad is cheap. Pad is so broken. It needs to be banned, right? So on that same token, this is just a giant pad, right? When you really think about it, this is a giant D-pad with A buttons. Sure, because of SOCD, it can do things that pad can't do. But what that means is that actually this is the real cheater device. This is the real cheater device because you can get away with some fucked up shit on this thing. Walking 720s, things like that, that don't exist on any other device because of the fact that you have two movement inputs. I guess you could also do the same thing on a Hitbox cross-up. But what you should really be asking yourself, I believe I comment on this. Let me see. Looks fine to me. Just play on it if it's really that cheap. Yeah, I remember I said that. That sounds right. So, what I want to get behind is if you really truly believe that a certain controller, let me just go ahead and zoom on this. A certain controller is probably the strongest controller for whatever game you're trying to play. Why would you hinder yourself and limit yourself to a weaker controller? Right? So many shooting game pros now. Think about it this way, right? So many shooting game pros have moved, at least in games where there's not crazy aim assist that like literally makes the controller broken. So many pros have moved to keyboard and mouse because you just have a better range of movement. You have more control, and you have technical, precise mechanical inputs if you're using a mechanical keyboard. Sorry for you membrane keyboard users. So it's, for the most part, just considered better. Right? There are going to be some people who are like, oh no, I prefer a controller all the way, right? But for the most part, most people say objectively that a keyboard and mouse is better for shooters than a controller will ever be. Why would you consider something like this, that is a better apparatus, or the games that you like, raises the skill level? Why would you not want this in the forefront, right? I think, honestly, I think this is really cool, right? If this is the fastest super input anyone's ever gotten, right? If this is like a new record for the fastest super input, 4 frames, because of SOCD, because of this device, I think that's innovation. That isn't sad and cheap. It's legitimately what he said it isn't. Innovation. This is a new space in fighting games. And this, honestly, is just the logical next step off a keyboard, right? Like, so say you play fighting games and you're not on a console and you don't own a controller. A lot of people just play fighting games on their keyboard and mouse. They legitimately use their keyboard for fighting games. I've heard tons of stories, people who got into fighting games or want to get into fighting games, like, oh yeah, but I'm playing on my keyboard, it really sucks. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be using this. Like, I'm supposed to get one of those arcade sticks, right? And I stopped them and I'm like, hey, well, now, before you do that, consider just buying a really nice controller, a really nice pad, or buying a Hitbox. And every time I say buying a Hitbox or buying a Mixbox, they ask me, what is a Hitbox? What is a Mixbox? And I show them and I'm like, this is your left, down, up, right, and these are your buttons. And they're like, oh wow, that's really ergonomic compared to using my keyboard. The keys are so much smaller. I was like, yeah, it's arcade buttons that are meant to simulate a keyboard, right? So if this is cheating, if this is fucked up, if this is broken, wouldn't a keyboard be able to do these exact same things? Wouldn't a pad with SOCD be able to do these exact same things? A lot of it is software side, right? Developer side, right? But then the other things that matter is honestly how you feel about it, right? Do you feel that this apparatus, as someone who's more casual, right? Like, yeah, I'm pretty good at some of the video games I play. I'm a real gamer. But everything I play on arcade stick. And I don't play on arcade stick because I believe that arcade stick is the best apparatus. I play on arcade stick because it's the apparatus that I'm most comfortable with and that I enjoy the games the most with. If you are playing purely for enjoyment of the game, I don't think that the Hitbox matters to you if you don't enjoy it. If you think it's cheap, if you think it's sad, that's cool, no problem. But for the highest level of competition, I love the fact that we are reaching new space and new territory and people are innovating. There are so many more people now playing on Hitbox that are actually top hitting tournaments. They're doing well, that are winning, right? than ever before. And I think that that is a true mark of a new era in the FGC, right? We had the stick era where if you played on pad, everyone thought you were fucking weird and you should get a stick, and that you didn't want to truly commit yourself to the game. Then we had the pad era where people showed, hey, whoa, D-pads, arcade sticks, they're the same. You can win with whatever. You can literally win with a steering wheel controller. Shout outs to Initial D, right? And now we're showing, hey, this other device that is meant to be fighting game first device is truly what we should probably be playing on. Let me show you guys some sick shit. And they came out with this video, right? There's tons of other Hitbox related videos that have been out showing some of the powerful techniques you can do with this controller, and also some of the downsides to this controller. Like, there's certain things that people consider harder to do because of the fact that you have buttons instead of a lever, right? Like a 720 will always be easier on a lever. Whoop, it may not be as fast, but it'll always be more intuitive, right? But those things come with time. Those things come with practice. I think a big thing that really bothers me about this guy's post is that he says, watching people cheat with these controllers really makes me wonder why I went through the effort of supporting them in my arcade, right? So he's saying that, like, watching people cheat, like, being able to do this to him is considered cheating, right? Being able to do a 4-frame super, if you train yourself well enough, you could probably do a 4-frame super on pad. You could probably do a 4-frame super on an arcade stick. It's a lot harder, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. Sure, this is the most technically sound way to do it. Let's be honest. Most technically sound. There's probably no other better device for it except maybe a keyboard with SOCD enabled, right? But this right here, this is not cheating. This is just the next level of evolution. It's like saying that going from mud houses to brick houses is cheating because you have bricks to make your house now instead of mud. It's like saying that people that use paddles on the back of their controller for more stability, not having to take their fingers off of the thumbsticks while playing and still being able to activate, things like reloading, throwing grenades, yada yada, etc., is cheating, meleeing, whatever, right? It's like saying that melee players cutting notches into their controllers to get the other analog angles that they need for an all analog game with honestly not a great controller for all analog, right? Is cheating. These are just logical innovations in the next step. Fighting games, and I love it personally. That's just me, right? But I do think that there's room for discussion of controllers and when it goes too far. Right? I don't think that this controller currently, I don't think any of the mainstay controllers we have on the market right now are going too far. I don't think that the Hitbox cross up is cheating. I don't think the Hitbox is cheating. I think the pad has a pretty real contention for being cheating, but they'll never ban, the DualShock 4, the DualSense that comes with the console, because it only makes sense that you're allowed to play on the device that comes with the console. And arcade sticks are damn sure not cheating, right? Probably the most archaic of all the devices that are being used for fighting games. So the question that I have for anyone who truly despises Hitbox and despises other peripherals that are not, just arcade sticks and regular DualShock 4s, pads, controllers, right? Regular controllers, console controllers. Why? And why not just use one? Right? If you are playing for the thrill of competition, and if you want to win, if you're playing to win, right? If you're not playing for fun, why not use the device that's going to give you the best results? That's like saying, as a competitive card game player, that you're not going to play one of the best decks in a format because you think it's not innovative, that it's sad and cheap, even though that it is the easiest and clearest path to victory if used well. Compared to something like a tier 2 deck, a rogue deck, not something in the tier 1, in the limelight, known to be one of the best decks. Sure, maybe it's not innovative in that sense, but there are things that you can always do to innovate with it. You innovate in your playstyle. You don't just innovate with the inputs, you innovate with your playstyle. But I do think, specifically for Hitbox's sake, not for a card game, so to bring it back, to reel it into reality, I do think that technically Hitbox is innovative. It's not anything that any other games really have. No other games really have a controller like this. This is like a fighting game specific controller that was made to be precise for the idea of fighting games, and fighting games alone mainly, right? Like, you could probably use it on like platformers, but for what? Why, right? This is truly meant for fighting games, and I think that that's something that people maybe don't think about, right? If it's made for fighting games, that probably means that it's A, either more ergonomic and promotes better wrist health, because sometimes people say that pads and sticks don't, or B, it's just more precise. Because we all as fighting game players, right, want to be precise. We don't want to miss our quarter circles. We don't want to miss our half circles. We don't want to miss our super inputs, our pretzel motions. You want to be able to do all those things at a moment's notice and not drop your combo. And if you do drop your combo, it's on you, not your controller. This is the perfect controller for that. I saw a few other comments, right? The main one that I saw was Brian F, and I really love this. Is it cheating when it takes more precision and effort than the normal method? Maybe labeling it as an advanced technique with a device with a higher skill ceiling as cheating doesn't feel right in the word. Doesn't feel like the right word. This is way harder than just doing quarter circle forward 2 times on a stick. And I agree. I think that having to know how SOCD works specifically for this controller to be mastered is a different skill, right? A different skill than you learn from pad, a different skill than you learn from stick. But I don't think specifically that I understand where he's coming from when he says cheating, right? Because he just means that like there's so much more effort required, or there's so much more knowledge that you had to have to learn how to do a quarter circle forward, right? But it's the same thing here. When you're first doing this, there's no way you're going to do this right first time. It doesn't look super hard, but it is going to be tricky because it's an apparatus and device you're not used to working with. Anyways, in summary, because I feel like I've talked about this for like, 15, 20 minutes? Probably like 10 to 15 minutes, right? I like alternative input devices, specifically for fighting games. I like the fact that we are starting to innovate and come up with controllers that are truly bringing the competition to a new level. You can always win on a pad. You can always win on an arcade stick. But these more precise, hey, what's up? These more precise devices like the Hitbox and the Hitbox Cross-Up are truly innovative, and I think that they're going to bring maybe competition to new heights, right? There's going to be so many things that are going to be simpler to do, or more precise, I should say, more precise to do on a leverless device, on these leverless style devices that will bring the competition to a higher level, right? Being able to react to things quicker with a button instead of a lever feels good, right? Knowing that, hey, my actuator's too small, so I missed it, right? No, there's no excuses there. It's, did you hit the button or did you not hit the button? I guess it'd be down back in the case of Street Fighter, right? To block a low or whatever. But I'm a big fan of these. One day I want to get my hands on a Hitbox or a leverless style device, whatever it may be, and give it a shot, right? I'm probably not going to stick with it. I'll probably always be an arcade stick guy, but I do love the idea of alternative input devices for fighting games. And I asked the question to all of you in this YouTube video: if you despise Hitbox and you despise leverless arcade sticks, why? And why not just give one a shot? Anyways, this has been Beanie Thuggish for the YouTube. Make another video, of course. It's been a few days, I think. Maybe it's been a few days since the last talk segment, but I'm sure we've uploaded some stuff in between there. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, comment down below, answer the question I asked, and maybe give me any other Hitbox or leverless related concerns, complaints, maybe even praises you have down in the comment section down below. Peace.